All right, let's just make sure I'm live and kicking, and then we'll get started. Let me turn my phone down. Figure out the delay on this one day. There we go. All right. Hello and welcome to Chiefsman's Corner Live. I am your host, the coach of the Denver Broncos now, Coach Winuvas, one of the leadership team here in the WFL. And normally I have a nice little cushy script I go by. You may notice a little bit of the format change. May notice a little bit of a seating arrangement change. My background is a little bit different. I've decided to sit somewhere different tonight. And I've decided to shrink up the logo a little bit, try something a little bit different. Gonna just play around with stuff tonight. You may see cats in the background. I have a bunch of them, so don't be alarmed at anything unless they jump on my face, which they shouldn't. Tonight we're going to talk about WFL Bowl 4, which was won by the Tampa Bay Buccaneers and Coach Kendro 16-6 over the Cleveland Browns and Coach Waffles. Looked like it was a great game. I unfortunately could not tune in. I was spending some time with the wife, so I couldn't really observe any of the game, but judging by the low-scoring affair, it seemed to be a defensive struggle, which is always kind of a good thing to see. I don't mind shootouts, but it's good to see a good, tight defensive battle in the Super Bowl. 16-6, again, your final. Buccaneers overcome and get there with Kyle Trask at quarterback against their former quarterback, Tom Brady. I do know that the Cleveland Browns had Tom Brady for a little bit, so what we're going to do tonight is a little bit different. Normally, I have a whole spiel of things I do, housekeeping notes and all that good stuff. I've decided to go throw that out the window tonight. I'm kind of winging it tonight, which is a little bit different for me, a little bit unusual for me. I don't normally like to do this because I tend to ramble, you probably have already noticed. But tonight, I want to talk about the offseason. I do have a little bit of a script here where I'm going to look at the offseason schedule. We'll talk about how the offseason is going to progress. When things are going to happen. All of this is provided in Discord in the announcements thread. The link to what I'm going to show here shortly is provided there. Has all the dates and times. I will, when I pull it up, I'll explain some of the gaps in numbers just for the new guys and maybe for some of the old guys to kind of refresh. And we're also going to talk a little bit about the sunset of Madden 23. It is coming to the end of the cycle, and for some of us, that is a thankful end. This cycle, to put it bluntly, has been a miserable affair for CFM owners, and it's not because of anything anyone in this league has done. It's just been EA has just flat out tried to shit on our parade, more so than usual. So we have made the best of a shit sandwich situation, and hopefully we have provided some entertainment for you this cycle. We've done some things I normally don't do, like we're doing CPU trades right now, which is something I hate doing. But it's something to kind of keep interest up. We've done a custom draft, which is something I don't normally do mid-cycle, especially with created draft classes and things of that nature. But again, after EA crapped on us on December 28th, we tried to do anything we could to kind of keep everything rolling as comfortably as possible. We will be entering into our 4th season, technically. We almost finished season 2 whenever they crapped out on us. We finished this as B3. We're going into 4. It's been a rough cycle, to be sure. But tonight we're going to talk a little bit about the off-season schedule, go over some deadlines and dates, and I will encourage anybody that tunes into this live or watches the recording of this, please keep up with anything we have going on from a standpoint of deadlines, because this right here is literally the most important time of the year for us, and we rip and run for the most part. We do not slow down or stop for anybody. We hit our deadlines pretty well. So if you're normally unplugged and you know you're going to be unplugged, please let somebody in leadership know. Let us put you on autopilot so at least the computer can maybe help run your team if you are busy. I completely understand. This is the time of year when people are out on vacation, maybe spring break, maybe getting out of school, maybe getting into baseball. There's other things and interests coming up, and I completely get that. I completely understand that. But at the same time, we need to hit these deadlines. We need to get these things done. And if you miss it, it's nobody's fault but your own. You have the means to set yourself to autopilot. Let us know if we need to set you to autopilot, things of that nature. But without further ado, I'm going to pop up on screen now the WFL offseason schedule template. We are currently sitting in the re-sign coaches stage. We're in the staff stage right now. This will end probably after this podcast. This is part of the reason why I'm doing it a little early, is because it technically is supposed to end by 9 o'clock Eastern time, which for my time zone is 8 o'clock. It is currently 7:30 when I'm recording this podcast. I jumped on a little early so I could go ahead and advance us whenever we get to the point where we need to be advanced. After I advance, we're going to be in this phase here, which is the re-sign phase. You can re-sign players right now. That's not an issue. That's not a rule that says you can't re-sign players. But for right now, just know that that's going to be the re-sign phase. The re-sign phase will only last 12 hours. It will be tonight. Tomorrow morning, when I get up before I go into work, I will be advancing us to stage 1 of free agency. Do remember that you have 5 free agency bids during this time, so make sure you make your bids appropriately. One thing I will state for the record, and actually I want to come back on camera for this, so give me just a second. Boop. During the off season, this has been a modus operandi of mine for a long time to help prevent sniping in free agency. I am the only one that will ever advance the league during the off season. And the process I use, so that way I don't get accused of sniping, or I am the only one that should be accused of sniping, is I actually, during the time frames that I list for whenever we advance, I will never be on the PlayStation. I always advance from my phone. I always advance using the application. I am never online during the 2-hour windows, which I'll talk about here in a second. I'm never online during the 2-hour windows when I say we could advance. And that's so nobody knows when we're going to advance. The only one that knows when we're going to advance is me, and I am not on the console. So therefore, leadership can't be accused of sniping. Sniping will always happen, unfortunately, as long as Madden does this rudimentary free agency period we have. There will always be people that try and snipe and try and change their bids at the last minute. That will always happen. The best way I have found to deal with it is basically make it to where only one person knows when the advance happens, and that person, unfortunately, it's a trust thing, but I guarantee that I'm never on the console whenever I advance. I always advance through the app. So really the only person that would be able to set a bid and then immediately advance it will be me. If anybody ever advances other than me, there will be some serious ramifications, but leadership, I trust, will never do that. I have complete faith in the leadership team here. I don't think that'll ever be an issue, but to those that are new or maybe less trusting, and I completely understand if you've come from leagues that leadership has been less than honest and transparent with you, I assure you that I'm the only one that advances us during the off season. I make it a point so that way if anything does come up wonky, you point the finger at me and nobody else, because it should be me and nobody else. But as I come back up with the advanced setup, I want to take your attention really to these numbers here. I list 2-hour windows because essentially in those 2-hour windows, I know sniping is going to occur, but I want to give a window to when I will be advancing, so that way if guys are genuinely getting on at the last minute because of work, because of time constraints, because of other obligations, I want to let them know distinct time frames that we will be advancing in, so that way nobody's in the dark. So when you see things like 7:01 to 9:01 a.m. Eastern time, know that it can happen any time in that window. It could happen at 7:01 on the dot. It can happen at 9:01 on the dot, or anywhere in between. It's whenever I can get to my phone and whenever I can advance us, okay? But this will be stage 1, will occur tomorrow, or yes, tomorrow morning we'll start. Make your offers to free agents. You'll also begin actually sending any approved trades in game. Be sure you get your trade approved through the trade committee before you send it in game. If you send it before it's approved, it will be reversed, and you will take any and all cap hits that apply with that trade, and probably get fussed at a little bit by myself or other leadership. Make sure you're posting your trade through Neon Sports. Everybody that's currently in the franchise is assigned a team in Neon Sports, so you should have no issue posting trades. On the CPU trade front, as I come back on screen, pop this off real quick. On the CPU trade front, I will tell you right now, some of you may have noticed that we are being very aggressive with denials on CPU trades. And the reason for that is really simple. As far as my philosophy goes, my philosophy is real simple around this. If I were the CPU team, would I make this trade? Whenever I review any trade that involves a CPU, I'm going in on Madden. I'm looking at depth charts. I'm looking to see what player you're going after. Are they a starter? Are they a depth piece? And I'm also looking to see what you're trading. If you are trading, like, for example, and I'll use myself as an example, if you are trading, say, a wide receiver, because I'm looking to deal some of my wide receivers this offseason, if I go to a team and I see that the CPU team has 3 or 4 wide receivers that are 80 plus or 75 plus, I'm not going to make a deal for a wide receiver to that team. They don't need that player. They have to have a need for that player that you're trading them for us to approve the trade. You may have noticed we've denied a lot of CPU trades. And the reason for that's real simple, guys. You're not offering good value to the CPU team. And while they are CPU teams, we're going to protect them because we never know. We had 4 people join yesterday. So we have to protect those CPU teams in case somebody actually does join. So we will protect them aggressively. And if you guys are making trades where you're sending a third string or you're sending a running back for 2 potential starters for your team, and the team you're sending a running back to has like 2 or 3 way better players there, we're not going to approve that trade. You're not going to fleece the CPU in our watch. Does that mean extra time for us? Yes. Does that mean we're happy about that? No. Trust me, some of my leadership team are very unhappy that we're allowing CPU trades. But the crux of it is, and the honesty of it is that we have too many CPU teams, and we need to facilitate some way to do CPU trades. So we are allowing it reluctantly, but do be aware we are not going to just let you rob teams of the best players just because you think you can. If you think you can, you'll find very quickly that you'll lose all your trades, because do remember, every denied trade counts as 1/2 of a trade. So if you get denied 4 times and you only have 3 trades, you have 1 trade left, because each denial of 4 counts as half a trade. That's 2 trades worth of denials. That leaves you with 1 left over. So don't waste your time. And if you're unsure, please ask leadership. I will be glad to weigh in on my potential perspective on a trade to let you know what I would think of it. It may take me some time to get back to you because, again, I do analyze the depth charts of the team you're trading with. The salary situation, because right now some of our players are in 0-year status. So we have to check those kind of things. So things like that would affect a depth chart, like maybe a receiver looks like a team looks like they're deep at wide receiver, but when you go look at their wide receiver depth chart, they have a bunch of 0 contracts that are good players that we have to assume at this point the CPU is going to let go. Okay, we don't know that for sure, but if you're going to post this early for CPU trades, be aware we have to go with what we see on the console. So I'm seeing a lot of trades that are coming through where guys are trying to basically send their dregs for guys that would be starters on their team, or they're sending what I call unsexy players that are quality players but at positions like defensive tackle, offensive line, and they're trying to get starters or starter quality players in return. And on these other teams they're sending to, they're either going to be mid-level players or maybe a starter at a position that's not really important to the team. So to kind of run this down a little bit, CPU trades are being allowed, but boys, you've got to really work for it. You're not going to just get by and just throw a trade together that makes the numbers look good and get it approved. It will work with user versus user. We're a little bit more lenient because the 2 users have talked and agreed. But on CPU trades, guys, you are going to have to work for it. You're going to have to earn it. So if you get denied a lot on CPU trades, do better. That's all I can tell you. I put one together today that I thought was really good that's probably going to get denied because it involves a really good player. But I worked my butt off to get it, and if it gets denied, it gets denied. But just be aware that you're going to have to work for it. You're not just going to get quality players for nothing. Also, I will tell you, any picks that go from the CPU probably won't get approved, mainly because we're not sure how the CPU is doing things right now. So if you're looking to try and trade picks for players or picks for picks with the CPU, be aware that's probably going to be on the denied list. I'm just telling you right now, trying to save you some time ahead of time. Okay, my chat server went down on YouTube, so I had to refresh it. I've got my phone here, so if anybody is online and active, I can pop on and answer any questions you might have. There is no Chiefsman or Ask the Chief tonight. There was no questions available. I didn't really ask for any. This is more of a freestyle thing, and I'm going to pop back up the schedule just to kind of finish going over it. Stage 1 of free agency will be 24 hours. That's kind of our modus operandi, just to give everybody enough time to put those bids out there. Stage 2 of free agency will start on Wednesday and will end on Wednesday night, so it'll be a 12-hour session for stage 2. And then stage 3 will be usually about 24 hours, just to kind of sand those last-minute free agents that you see there. We are going to have our draft on Thursday, March the 23rd at 9 p.m. Eastern Time. It will be all 7 drafts. I have not talked with our resident broadcaster / do-everything guy, Juke, to see if he's going to broadcast a draft like he did last year and do a draft show. I know it was a really good thing last year. I've got some draft board stuff I've got available. I'm hoping that if we do have a draft show, I'll be able to do some of it. I don't know if I'll be able to do all of it because of the Thursday night conundrum with the wife. I'll see what I can do. But do be aware that our draft will be on Thursday, March the 23rd. After we get to the draft, we're going to kind of go to our draft recap stage. And some of this that's in the post-draft section will be kind of incorrect. And the reason we're doing that is because what we're going to do is we're going to pop on and we're going to try and attempt to get a export of this draft class as far as their statistics, as far as their attributes go. And what we're going to do is, this is kind of a very rough game plan, but this is the way we do our process for the rookie carryover draft. What we want to provide you is more ammunition in the gun for your carryover draft player. In the WFL, we do allow a rookie carryover, and what that means is that basically normal times, and I emphasize the term normal times because Madden 23 is nothing in the normal range. Normal times, our last season, which is a spoiler alert to what I'm going to talk about next, our last season is usually kind of a low activity one. Usually guys are checked out, especially in March, April, May area. Once the real draft hits, usually you see activity kind of just plummet because pretty much the NFL is done for a couple months, and I completely get that. But what we do to kind of entice you to keep going is that last season that we play, we will go through an off season, and you won't have to participate in much of the off season, but you will want to participate in the draft. Because the draft will allow you to basically, any player you take in that final draft, and the draft will be the very last thing we do this cycle, the draft, those players that we have, we will export to a spreadsheet, and in Madden 24, whatever team you take over, whatever draft picks they made for players, you'll have a list of those players. You'll get to pick one of those players, and everything about them, from the attributes to the development trait, to the height, to the weight, whatever, if we're allowed to, and Madden doesn't crap on us, we couldn't do it this year because Madden crapped on us. If Madden allows us, we will create that player in Madden 24 for you. What we're attempting to do is kind of take this draft class, get it frozen in time as a snapshot, and then basically the next draft, which will be our last one of the cycle, you'll have 2 drafts worth of information and players to make a decision on coming into Madden 24. Now, I will tell you that we are going to get a frozen snapshot of this draft class, which means that any experience you might gain with that player during this last season will be null and void. You're going to get if you pick a player from this draft to carry over from the draft we're about to have, that player will be just like they were in the draft. If you build them up over the season and they become 20 points better overall, it won't matter, guys, because we're going to take the rookie. That's the way we do it, and the reason we do it that way is to make it fair for everybody. In other leagues I've been in, we've had issues where guys are carrying over players that have been built up over 3 and 4 seasons, and they come into the new Madden as like a 90, 95 overall player, and that is completely game-breaking. This is somewhat game-breaking. Not going to sugarcoat it, but with this system, at the very bare minimum, you get to come in with a rookie player, no experience, and everybody comes in with the same setup. So if you drafted well and got a 78, 79, 80, 81 overall rookie, good for you. If you're coming in with a guy that's in the 60s because you really like him or he fits a need that you have, good for you too. That's the way we want it to be, okay? But what we're going to do is this draft, we're going to freeze one. We're going to get it. So essentially when we go to pass the draft, we're going to stop at the draft recap stage as my cats fight behind me. So sorry, it's live. What can I tell you? We're gonna freeze that draft. So we're going to stop at the draft recap stage. We're going to give ourselves time to basically export those guys to a spreadsheet, which may take a while. It might be a couple hours, it might be an hour, it might be 30 minutes. I'm not real sure. Usually it's our man Clyde that does this stuff for us. He's really good at this stuff. I appreciate him being here so much more than he absolutely knows. But once we get that locked down, then we will advance to preseason week 4 as per the schedule. I'm hoping it won't take more than a couple hours and that we can be in preseason week 4 on Friday. And what we're going to do is we're going to hold there because we need to set our rosters to 53 and get our practice squad made up. And we also need to have some time to post any of the offseason program improvements. Please be aware, new guys especially, you are involved in the offseason regimen program. Okay? You have points that you can use. You may not have as many points as some guys who have been through our incentive program and have some incentive points built up, but everybody gets some points. Everybody can participate. Please look over those incentives. Please look over those off-season regimen programs and kind of get aware with them and know what they do and what they are. And if you have any questions, please feel free to ask. We've got a lot of guys that have been through multiple seasons now with this system that are kind of more adept with it and understand how it works and operates. Feel free to ask anybody. We'll be glad to tell you how it works. Glad to tell you where you need to go and look for things. But be aware those off-season programs are there for you to help improve your team and your rookies. So we will have at least a 24-hour period where everybody's getting their roster to 53, posting their final little changes for the off-season regimen program. We'll probably allow somewhat into week 1. Don't quote me on that. But we will maybe allow into week 1 a little bit, some last-minute changes. But be aware that once we hit week 1, we're hitting the ground running, and any of those off-season regimen programs and any of those points and things that you got for incentives or whatever, if you don't use them, you lose them. So I encourage you to read this stuff. Take some time, read the stuff. If you're not familiar with it, if you're new here, take the time to look into it. Take the time to look at it and make sure you're up to date on the stuff, because it is some way. There are a lot of good programs there that can help you improve. If you need any questions, again, like I said, ask leadership. We'll be glad to answer and get you up to speed on any of that. Now, that finishes off the off-season talk. And again, if you need this form that I'm pulling up again, this is available. This is available in the announcements thread. There's a link there. If you need a link to it, just let us know. We'll be happy to provide you one. This is essentially your lifeline to how we're going to be doing things. And like I said, we are going to be ripping and running. Today is Monday, and by Thursday, we will be done with off-season. So if you're not here over the next 48 to 72 hours, you're going to miss out on a ton. And if you know you're going to miss out, please let us know so we can put you on autopilot, or put yourself on autopilot, because I'm honestly, at this stage of the cycle, you're either in or you're out. If you're checked out mentally, put yourself on autopilot. Let the computer do your thing. I am not going to feel sorry for anybody who doesn't communicate to anyone in leadership about them losing players or having cap issues as far as not being around to sign players or do whatever. I am not going to feel sorry for anybody. I am my well of compassion is dry. Okay, as far as Madden 23 goes. New guys, you have a little bit of a buffer, but anybody who's been through an offseason before, has been here for the cycle or been with us, guys, I'm not going to tolerate if you're like, oh, I didn't know this was going on, or I didn't know, I didn't get on to sign stuff, and I didn't do this. There are plenty of ways you can set yourself on autopilot. There are plenty of ways you can communicate with us and tell us to do it. We'll be glad to do it for you. If you don't communicate and you don't do it, I don't feel sorry for you. I just don't. Okay? Again, you're either in or you're out. That's pretty much the line. Okay? Off season's a big time for us. We rip and run. We want to get back to playing as quickly as possible. So if you're not here or you can't be here, do it yourself, autopilot. Let us know, autopilot. We'll be glad to do it. You just got to tell us. If you don't tell us and you don't do it, and then you cry later about something not being right with your team, it's on you. Period. Okay? So again, new guys, a little bit of buffer. That's more for the veterans. Just be aware, we move fast, and if you have questions, ask them. Ask them. Okay? I've got my phone on me. I usually check my Discord. I'm a school teacher. If you're not aware, I teach at a community college. I usually have gaps between classes when I'm checking Discord. I'll sometimes have it pulled up on my computer in a web browser so I can check it while I'm doing grading and stuff. I'm usually plugged in during this time especially. If you have a question, I will get back to you as soon as humanly possible to give you an answer. If not, somebody else can. Okay? So do be aware, I try and stay plugged in pretty regular. Now, to the last bit of this episode. The sunset of Madden 23, I mentioned it at the beginning. This season upcoming that we're about to play will be the last season of the Madden 23 cycle. We've been averaging about a month and a half, give or take, per season, which if we keep at that pace will put us right around May to finish off this season. And then obviously, like I said, we'll do the playoffs, we'll do off-season, but the signings and stuff won't be as big a deal. But the draft will be. I encourage you for the upcoming future, not this draft we're about to have in 3 days, but the next draft, try to hang on to your picks as much as possible because obviously it's more bullets in the gun. If you feel like you had to trade a future pick to get some kind of player to help you win this season, obviously feel free. I'm not going to stop you, but just be aware that you want to kind of have some picks in the gun. So just be aware of that. We're going to finish off around May, probably. I don't know when exactly in May. I'd probably say mid to late May with that 5th season of record. It'll be our 3rd or 4th season this cycle. But with all the restarts and stuff, I completely have lost track of it. But anyway, we're going to sunset Madden 23 after this upcoming season. And the process we normally do is essentially we go through, we'll do the draft, and the draft will be the last thing we do. And we'll kind of just hang out on Discord until the new Madden drops. We've got some other things we can do as far as, activities like we have some channels for shooters, for FIFA. We have some other interests that people can obviously explore during that time frame. But honestly, most of the time in WFL, we try to have at least a month or month and a half, maybe longer in this case, of a break from Madden. I think, honestly, even though a lot of guys kind of push to have us restart, which I'm not against, I was at the time, but I'm glad that we pushed through, and I'm glad we did restart after the debacle of 12/28. But I think we could all use a break from Madden 23. I really do. And I think after this season, I think it's a good time to just kind of coast in. And obviously, if guys want to do unofficial stuff in WFL post that season, I'll definitely be open to allowing it. I won't be participating in it, but I will be open to allowing it. If guys want to maybe start a new franchise and goof around, like just sim 10 years or whatever, or do something goofy, feel free. But once this season ends, I'm tapped out for a couple of months. I've made it well known that I don't plan on purchasing Madden 24 with my own money. I feel like EA should give every one of us that had to endure this game this season, as far as franchise users, whether you ran a league or not. I think they should give us Madden 24 for free next year because of all the shit they shoveled on us. I don't think Madden EA deserves a penny from anybody that's participating in this league or has participated in this league. So we'll be able to get 2 seasons in. Well, spoiler alert, I just spoiled that. I don't see us getting 2 seasons in. I really don't. I think in May we're going to hit that May wall, and I think a lot of us are going to be ready because even if we tried to do a second season after this one, that would put us in July, and that's not a lot of turnaround time. And I'm going to be frank. I've been in leagues that have gone year round, and for me, the burnout is real. Like, I have to I found through going through year-long leagues that basically play to the end of the cycle, and when the new one drops, they're basically a 2-week gap. I can't do that, man. I like Madden, especially over the last 5 years, I can't do that. I have to have a break from this game because the sad part is it keeps getting longer. That's the sad part, but I don't see us getting 2 seasons in. I'm sorry if that was your hope. I don't see it. If by some miracle the guys that are here, like, to a man, like every single one won a second season after this one, then maybe. I don't think that's going to be the case, though. I think by the time we get to May, I think realistically guys are going to be like, I'm ready for a break. I've had to talk some guys into playing this next season, to be quite honest with you. But I do think that we'll be okay content-wise. Juke's been doing a lot of stuff with the WFL Twitch channel, which is the only Twitch channel I will allow here in WFL. Everything else should be in YouTube. That's another thing, guys. If you do not have a YouTube channel set up, please do so as soon as possible. When we roll into week 1, I'm expecting to see everybody ready to roll on YouTube because the main reason, and to explain my position on it, is we had a few guys that had Twitch streams that are no longer with WFL that had issues with Madden apparently copywriting them and Twitch immediately taking their stuff down. And these were guys that had rules violations. And when they're streaming and they commit the rules violation, I can't go back and watch it if it gets copyright struck down and Twitch takes it down. YouTube will copyright strike it, but will keep the video up. You just can't monetize it. So, and YouTube also allows you to store it indefinitely, whereas Twitch only allows you to store it for like 14, 30 days, or at most 30 days. So, honestly, YouTube is a better source for us in the long run because we can go back and review these streams with no worry about them dropping off of the planet. So if guys have genuine concerns, they can be rectified because YouTube will keep that video up and we can go view that whenever we are able to, as opposed to Twitch, which is apparently knee-jerk reaction, pulls down videos or keeps them up for a very small period of time and then drops them off. So if you're not on YouTube, please set up a YouTube channel. It's not difficult. All you got to do is plug it into a Gmail account address. If you don't have a Gmail account address, just get one set up. It's free. It's easy. It's not complicated, guys. It's 2023. If you can't set up an email right now, how did you get here? So be aware that barring a miracle, this upcoming season will be our last in WFL Madden 23. And I, for one, am saying good riddance because Madden 23, again, has been, honestly, I've been doing online console since Madden 10. And this has been by far the worst experience I've had in CFM. And again, it's not because of the league. It's not because of any of the guys in it. It's because EA. EA has been horrible. So I, for one, I'm going to be glad for a break. But we'll see. We'll see. But I'm not going to commit to anything beyond this season personally, because I definitely need the break. And we'll see what happens with Madden 24. But that's our process. That's what we're going to be. The main thing at crux of tonight was getting down the all-season schedule, making sure guys are aware of how we do things and how fast we go through the process, making sure that you know what stuff is, and making sure that if you're not available and you're not going to be available, man, set yourself on autopilot or tell us to do it. I'm not going to tolerate, unless it's from a new guy, I'm not going to tolerate much of BS from anybody as far as being disappointed that something didn't happen or that they didn't sign somebody or whatever. I put the information out there. We put it out there well in as advanced as we can. If you're not around, then that's on you, because Discord is available everywhere. So, I mean, if you can't check in, 5 minutes a day on a phone, on a browser, then why are you here? I hate to be that blunt about it, but it's kind of one of those things. After we talked about off-season stuff, obviously talked about a little bit of a change in the process because we're talking about the carryover draft. And then obviously the end of it talked about the sunset of Madden 23. It looks like it's going to be this next season unless, again, some absolute miracle happens. But I foresee it not happening. So be aware the end of Madden 23 is coming, but that doesn't mean the end of WFL as we know it. Madden 24, but WFL will be back. It's got a strong core of folks, a good core of folks. This is probably honestly the best core of people I've been around since doing it, starting WFL and Madden 16, and the best core of people honestly I've been around ever since Madden 10, and that includes some really respected leagues like OMFL, SOS. Like this group of people, I think is probably the best I've ever seen as far as a core group of probably 20 users that are bought in and bought into how we do things and how we operate. So I think WFL is going to thrive in Madden 24 if we get people that want to actually play in Madden 24 as far as come back after Madden 23 and haven't been completely burned off of EA bullshit. I think WFL potentially could end up having a second league going. I think we're that strong right now. I think we could be that strong. So that's something I would never have said a couple years ago. So that being said, that's the end of Chiefsman's Corner today. I've been your host, Coach Winuvas of the Denver Broncos, and that's going to be for the rest of the season. That's not going to be a change anytime soon. Like it has been a running joke the last couple of Chiefsman's Corners. I've logged in as a different coach, a different team every time. The last 3 episodes I've done. But I am going to be the Denver Broncos this upcoming season, barring some kind of oddball thing going on. I appreciate if you tuned in. I know I saw Mr. McGrumpy Pants. At least that's your YouTube handle. So if you've tuned in live, I appreciate it. If you watch this after the fact, I appreciate it. The WFL appreciates it. Give us a like. Give us a subscribe. Tell all your friends. Thank you for this year, regardless of, whether we end in May or whatever. Thank you for this cycle. Thank you for giving us an opportunity. If you're new or if you've been here, thank you for giving WFL an opportunity. Hopefully you found a destination league here in the WFL. I appreciate it. The WFL leadership appreciates it. Thank you for all that you do content-wise. Thank you for everything y'all bring to the league. As long as y'all keep bringing energy, we'll keep giving you a platform to be on. So with that being said, I'm going to round this out with my usual closing phrase. Until next Monday, guys, the corner is closed.